Okay, so good evening all. Today, am I audible? Okay, thank you. So today we'll discuss about this cache memory, cache memory. So in this chapter or in this session, we'll discuss about what is cache memory and how it works, what is its organization, its structure, and the flow chart, how it works and all. And then we'll look into the direct mapping technique. Direct mapping technique is one of the technique which is used to insert or load data words into the cache memory. So today we'll discuss all these concepts in our session. So let's move on. Let's start our session. Um, Now, first of all, let us learn about cache memory. What is cache memory? The simple definition that defines this cache memory, it is a small size type of volatile computer memory which provides high speed data access to the processor and store and it stores frequently used computer programs or the data. Actually, in simple terms, we can say it as it stores the frequently used computer programs or the data that is there in the main memory. It stores and retains data only until a computer is powered up or powered on. So whatever the data that we are storing in the main memory and the data which is in frequent use. So all those frequent instructions or frequently used data will get stored in this cache memory in order to provide a high speed and simple access to the processor, because every time when a processor have to retrieve data from the main memory, it might take some time. It might be an it might not be much reliable. So for that purpose, there is an intermediary memory called cache memory, which is small in size than main memory. If your main memory is small in size, your cache memory might not be that much. It might be much more smaller than the main memory. It is a small sized, but it helps in having high speed data access to the processor. And this cache memory contains data or it retains data only when the system is powered on. When the system is powered off, the data inside this cache memory might get removed from the memory. So this cache memory, as I have already said, it stores amount of data, but which is very fast accessed, and it is placed between CPU and it is placed between CPU and main memory. So in order to act as an intermediary between processor and main memory, it is placed between processor and main memory. What happens here, whenever CPU wants to access any data elements, it will simply get goes and it will look in the cache memory whether the data that the processor wants to access is there or not. If the data which the processor wants to access is not there, then it will directly goes and access in the main memory. So it is of two kinds, right? Now, let us talk about the working of cache memory. So, in the previous slide, I need to mention one point that always when the system or when the processor wants to access any kind of data from the cache memory, then the transfer of data between CPU, the transfer of data between CPU and cache memory will be in the form of words. So here between CPU, between processor and cache memory, there will be word transfer happens, and between cache memory and main memory, block transfer happens. So between cache memory and main memory, block transfer happens. Block transfer in the sense the main memory will have several blocks in it, where each block will have a kind of data. So all the data, all the blocks which are there, one of that block might get resided into this cache memory. That means this entire block will gets placed into this cache memory for the easy access of processor onto the data of that block. But when it comes to processor, the transfer between processor and cache memory, The cache memory will give words of data to the processor. Whatever the word of data that the processor wants or that the processor wants to access, it gives that word of data to the processor, right? So that is how the transfer happens between cache memory and main memory, or cache memory and processor. Now the CPU, when you talk about the working of cache memory, here there are this slide shows the working. So the CPU initially looks in the cache memory for the data it needs. So whatever the data that this CPU, that the processor wants, first it goes and checks in the cache memory whether the data that it wants is present or not. If the data is there, it will retrieve it and process that data. So whatever the data that the CPU want, if it finds it in the cache memory, then it will simply retrieve that within milliseconds, or within a fraction of second. It will retrieve that data and it starts its processing. Okay, but if the data is not there, then the CPU accesses the system memory and then puts a copy of new data in the cache memory before processing it. So what happens here, if the CPU does not find its required data in the cache memory, then the CPU will get and access the main memory, where it will search for the required data. It will search for the required data or required instruction, we can say. So there, if it finds that required data in the main memory, first it will load that instruction into this cache memory, because it is one of the recently used instruction. So it is one of the recent used instruction. So it will place that used uh, instruction or used data into cache memory first. Next, so that what happens next time the CPU needs to access the same data again, it will just retrieve the data from the cache instead of going through the whole loading process again and again. So next time again, if it wants to have to access the same data, then it should not go to the main memory again. Simply it can just retrieve that data from the cache memory as it was already loaded before, right? So this is how that this working of cache memory happens. So this working is simply represented in the form of a flowchart here. So what happens, simply every time there will be start. So after the initiation of the process of retrieving, so the CPU will provide an address for the data that need to be accessed. So if that address or if that data, simply any data is represented in the form of its address, right? It will be accessed through its address. So this required address, whatever that CPU wants, it will be given to the uh, it will be provided by the processor. So what processor will do, it will first check in the cache memory. If the block is there in the cache memory, that means if condition is satisfied here, yes, then it will simply fetch the word or data that and is delivered to CPU. Here, when the block is present or when the data is present in the uh, cache memory, then it will simply fetch that word or data to the processor, and the process is done. It is completed now. But there is another case where the processor does not find that data or the instruction in the cache memory. Then what it has to do, it has to access the main memory. So it has to access the main memory. In the main memory, again, if that main memory is divided into several blocks, so it has to access the main memory for the block which containing that required address. Array is nothing but the required address what the processor wants to have. So that it will search for the required address in the main memory, and immediately after finding that word or data in the main memory, what it has to do, it has to allocate a cache line for that main memory block. So every time when a data has to be inserted into the cache memory, that entire block will get inserted onto a cache line. So you might get confused about this cache line and main memory block. So we'll come through all these terms in later in this session. So don't get confused of all those terms. Simply just try to understand what I'm saying, right? So this main memory block will get allocated onto a cache line. So and next, after allocating that main memory block onto the cache line, it has to load that entire data which is there in the main memory block into cache line, and along with that it has to deliver that word, whatever the data that the CPU wants. It has to deliver that word to CPU, and finally the process is done. After delivering that word to CPU, giving that word data to CPU, then the process is done. So this is how the entire cache mapping or cache memory will fetch the data to the processor. This is a flowchart, simple flowchart where you can understand the process in a simple manner, right? Moving on, we have different mapping techniques. So you have to, before moving to this slide, before moving to the mapping technique slide, you need to understand two concepts. One is cache hit, and the other one is cache miss. So what is this cache hit and cache miss? So if you simply find the data, in the cache memory, if you simply find the data or the required word in the cache memory, then it is called as cache hit. It is called as cache hit. But if you don't find that if you don't find that required address or the required data in the cache memory, then that is called as cache miss. That is called as cache miss. So you need to handle this particular situation with few techniques, because as the data is not present in the cache memory, you need to handle that situation. You need to access the data from the main memory and put it in the cache memory, in the cache lines. So that process will have few techniques to be followed, and what are those techniques we are going to look in this session. So one of the technique is direct mapping technique. So we'll learn about the direct mapping technique now. So as I have specified earlier, to load the data from the main memory to cache memory, we have several techniques. Main techniques are these. One is direct mapping technique, and the associative mapping technique. Associative mapping technique is also called as fully associative mapping technique, and the other one is set associative mapping technique, right? So out of all these three, today in this session we are going to discuss about only direct mapping technique. So what is this direct mapping technique? First we'll look into the theory part of this direct mapping technique, and then we'll consider an example. Using that example, I will explain you more clearly. Okay. So until then, just concentrate what I am saying. So this direct mapping techniques means, so it's simply what it will do is, it will map each and every block of the main memory into only one possible line of the cache line. So what happens here is, your main memory is divided into several blocks. So consider this as your main memory. Then this main memory is divided into several blocks. So it might be any number of blocks depending upon the size of the main memory. So each of this is called as a block. So in the same way as your entire main memory is divided into several blocks, in the same way your cache memory is also divided into few lines. Your cache memory is also divided into few lines. These lines are called as cache lines. So these are called as cache lines, whereas your main memory is divided into several blocks. So these are called as main memory blocks, and these are called as cache lines when it is in the case of cache memory. This is in the case of main memory. So what happens here? Your entire main memory block, your entire in the direct mapping technique, whatever the block you required or whatever the data you required, if that data lies in any one of these blocks, that entire block will be kept onto only one of the desired or one of the designated cache line in the cache memory, right? So if I consider, let us take a simple example where there is a data called 2 in this main memory block. So the CPU searches for this data like 2. So let us suppose an variable like this a is residing in this block, which is having a block number. This is block number 0 and this is block number 1. So in the main memory block number 1, your variable a is residing. So you need to access that variable a. So first your processor, your CPU will check in the cache memory whether the a variable is there or not. But unfortunately, it won't find that variable in this cache memory. Then what it has to do? It has to access the main memory where it finds this variable a in the block number 1, right? So what it has to do is it has to take this entire block and it has to keep this entire block in any one of the, not anyone, there will be a designated line for each and every block in the direct mapping technique. Only in the direct mapping technique there will be a designated line for each and every block of a main memory. So it has to simply take that main memory block and it has to put it in a cache line in the cache memory, right? So this is a process that will happen under the direct mapping technique. One thing you need to be more specified on is, so only the blocks will be placed only on a designated cache line. It won't be placing wherever it want in the cache memory. Why I am saying this point, you will understand while we are working with an example. Okay. So let us go through this slide. Each block of main memory maps to only one cache line. There won't be many cache lines on which it will be mapped. It will be mapped onto only one cache line. Each block will be mapped onto only one cache line. That is, if a block is in cache, it must be in one specific place only. It must be in one specific place or one specific line. Address is in two parts. So if you consider in this direct mapping technique, the main memory address will be divided into two parts, whereas cache memory address will be divided into around three parts. So why we are dividing like that? Why? What is the use of dividing your cache memory address in such a way that we'll see in the coming example. Okay, so these are the bits bits information regarding that addressing technique or addressing method. So I'll discuss this in the example. So this is how the addressing happens. That address structure will look like. This address structure is of a cache memory, right? It is divided into different slots. Three different slots are there for the cache memory address. So why we are dividing like this and what is the use of dividing like this is, I'll explain you with the example now. So if you just consider the process, how it looks like. This is how it looks. This is the main memory block will be there here. This is the main memory block. These are the blocks in main memory and these are the lines in the cache memory. So what happens here, each and every block will have its own specified location on the cache memory. So it has to get resided onto the cache line. So onto only a specified line. So which block has to reside in which line and all, we'll just look with the example. So before that, let me before understanding this slide, let us consider an example and understand, right? Okay. So here I have took an example where the main memory size is around 64 words and cache memory size is around 16 words. So in each block, only four words are stored. So these are the constraints that are given to me in the problem. So let us try to understand what all these is and how we can formulate from this data, right? So what we need to do is simply for uh, calculating the calculating the cache line which will reside which block number. For that we have a formula. So let me just give you that formula, right? That formula that you will use is I equals to j modulo j modulo m. I equals to j modulo m. Here you need to understand one thing. What is I? I is nothing but the cache line number. I is nothing but the cache line number, and j is the main memory block number. J is main memory block number, and capital M that I am specifying here is the number of cache lines. Number of cache lines. So why I am using this formula? So here let us consider. So as it is given that there are around 64 words in the main memory, and cache memory has 16 words. So what we are supposed to do? We are supposed to divide it. So we are supposed to divide it. Just a second. So that entire 64 word, whatever the main memory size we have, to get the number of blocks, to get number of blocks, we need to just divide that total main memory size with the number of words given, with the number of words that can be stored in each block to get number of blocks. So 64 divided by 4 will become 16. So in the main memory we'll have 16 blocks. In the same way, when we consider this cache memory, in the cache memory also we need to find out number of cache lines that are possible. So even cache memory size is given as 16 words. So all those 16 words are divided between the cache lines. That means in each line, 4 words will be there. So one thing you need to remember is how many number of words will reside in each block. The same number of words will also reside in a cache line. So the size of a block in main memory and the size of a line in cache memory will be same. So if here it is given that the block contains 4 words, in the same way line also can contain 4 words. So that's why I'm dividing the cache memory, total cache memory size, with 4. That will give me around 4 lines. So this cache memory will contain 4 cache lines, and the main memory will contain around 16 blocks. So I have represented them like this. So consider this as the main memory. So this will be our main memory, and this is our cache memory. Okay, so whatever these lines are there, this is a cache line. So this is one cache line, second one, third one, and fourth one. And if you consider here, these are the 16 cache lines. So if you start numbering them from 0, 1, uh, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on until 15. So as we are starting from 0, 16 blocks will comes out to be 15 at the last, right? So these are the number of blocks in the main memory, and these are the number of lines in the cache memory. So this is 0th one, first one, second one, and third line. So what happens here is how we can map these blocks. So the next question that we need to answer is how we can map all these blocks uh, onto these cache lines. So that is an important question that we need to answer. So for that purpose, what I am doing is I am simply using this formula. What it says that it says that whatever the I I'm getting, so I equals to j modulo. J is nothing but the main memory block number. So if I consider the main memory block number at the first one as 0, then 0 modulo m. M is nothing but the number of cache lines. So what are the number of cache lines I have here? That is 4. So 0 modulo 4 I have. So 0 modulo 4 will obviously lead to again 0. So that means in a this block which is there, the zeroth block in the main memory which is there, this will reside on the zeroth line of the cache memory. That means I can simply say that the zeroth line which is there here, this entire block will reside on the zeroth line of the cache memory. That means here we can have zeroth block here. We can have zeroth block here. Okay, so let us move forward and also calculate for all other values. So if I take next value, that is j equals to 2. Let me be descriptive. If j equals to 2, then I will become sorry, there is one. No, we have completed 0, then I'm taking now 1. So 1 modulo 4, that simply gives me 1. In the same way, if I take um, j equals to 2, then I will become 2 modulo 4. 2 modulo 4, that will give me 2 again. If j equals to 3, then I will become 3 modulo 4. Again, that will give me 3. The solution for this will be 3. If j equals to 4, then I will become 4 modulo 4, which will give me the value as 0 again. That means what? So the block number which is 1, this will reside in the first line, that means line number 1. The block number which is 2, this will reside in cache line number 2. The block number which is 3, this will reside in cache line number 3. And the block number which is 4, this will reside in again in the cache line number 0. That means I can simply write it as, so in the cache line number 1, I can write block number 1 here. In the cache line number 2, I can write block number 2, because block number 2 again it is residing in cache line number 2. In the cache line number 3, I can write block number 3. When it comes to 4, it will reside again in the cache line number 0, because block number 4 modulo 4 will give me 0. So I'm writing the block number 4 in this cache. So if you continue doing this, you'll get like this. 5 will reside here, 6, block number 6, block number 7, block number 8, block number 9, block number, so this is 9, block number 9, block number 10, block number 11, similarly block number 12 here, block number 13, block number 14, and block number 15, which is the last block for our example. Right? So this is how the mapping happens between the cache memory and the main memory. So whatever the data that I want to access, so let us consider an address, like in the problem, let us consider an address like this. So if I want to access and data which have the address like which have the address like 0001 0001 and 01 0001 and 01. Why I am taking only 6 bits address? Why I am taking only 6-bit address? Why I'm taking only 6-bit address? So the simple reason for this is, as my total main memory size is around 64 bits. As my main memory size is around 64 words, I can say, sorry, words. So the 64 words can be represented as 2 power, so 2 power 6, right? The 64 can be represented as 2 power 6. That means to represent each word I need to have around 6 bit of address. That represents, to represent each word I need to have 6 bit of address. So that's why only I'm taking the even example as a 6 word 6 bit address, right? So this is my address. Suppose first of all, keep this address in the main memory. So where I can keep this address in the main memory, for that you need to understand one thing. In the main memory, as we have, as when I'm explaining on the slide, you might have come across the I have said about the in this mapping technique, in the direct mapping technique, we'll have techniques or the structures for main memory address and cache memory address. So when it comes to main memory address is divided into two parts. Is divided into two parts. The first part, I mean the part which is on the right side, the part which is on the right side is the block offset. This part is called as the block offset. So it is called as the block offset. But when it comes to this, this part which is on the left side, it is called as the block number. It gives the block number and it gives the block offset. What is this block offset again? This is very simple, no need to confuse. So if you just go back to this part where this entire main memory is again divided in the column wise, right? It is divided into column wise, where each of this column will represent one block offset. So this is one block offset, this is one block offset, this is one block offset, and this is one block offset. Again we have 4 block offsets. Why we are restricting to only 4 block offsets? Because each block can contain only 4 words. So each of my main memory block main memory block can contain only 4 words. So for that purpose, 1, 2, 3, and 4, I have the block offset as 4, right? So to represent the block offset, I need 2 bits. Why I need 2 bits? Because each of this block offset is 4. That 4, each of the block offset is each of the block offset is 4. So that 4 I can represent it as 2 power 2. So to represent the block offset, I need only 2 bit size. So here in this example, I'm talking about only this example. In this example, the block offset will take only 2 bits, whereas the rest of the 4 bits will take the block number. Why I need 4 bits for block number? Because the number of blocks that I have are 16. Number of blocks that I have are 16. So to represent 16 blocks, I can write it as 2 power 4. 16 can be represented as 2 power 4. So to represent 16 blocks, I need 4 bits, right? So this is what we need to consider. So here, when you take this entire main memory address is divided into around 2 parts. So one is block offset and the other is block number. So here, if I have to write block offset, what are all the values I can put here? 0 and 0 and 1. What are all the values I can put here? I can put 0, sorry, 0, 0, 0, 1. So this is how I can put, right? Here. So here 00, this entire 6-bit address is divided into two parts. One is block number 0001 and the other is block offset, which is 01. So let us come back and trace this address onto the our main memory block. So here 0001 represents what? That is a binary representation. So the decimal form of that binary representation of 0001 is simply 0001 is simply 1. Is simply 1. This is a decimal form. So that means what? This is a block number, right? So here our block number is given as 1. That means this is the block that I need to have focus on. So my required address is of this block. And when it comes to block offset is specified as 01. So if I give numbering from the left side, like this block offset is 00, this block offset is 01, and this block offset is 10. These are the address of this block offset, and the final one is 11. So 01 is this block offset. So my required data is in this location. My required data will reside in this location. This is how we can get the word from the main memory. So if I have to find out that a word in a cache memory, then I also have to take the help of tags here. What are the tags? So let me just, for the cache memory, there will be few tags associated with each of the cache line. So there will be few tags associated with each of the cache line. At So one second. So each of the cache memory cache line will have a tag associated with it, right? So here again 4 tags will be there, right? So what these indications will specify is at a time only one of these 4, like either 0th block or 4th block or 8th block or 12th block, can get resided into this line, cache line. That means at a time only either 0 can present here in this line, or 4 can present in this line, or 2 can present in this line, or 12 can present in this line, in the cache line of this cache memory. So how we can know that what is active, which line is which block is active in this? That is completely dependent upon the tag number. So if you consider the address for cache memory address is divided into 3 parts again. As I have already specified, that cache memory address is divided into 3 parts. So the first part here is again block offset. This will represent the block offset, and the second part will represent the cache line number and the third part will represent the tag number. So how can I get the number of bits of tag? So if you get this block offset and cache line number, then obviously you can find out this tag number of bits used for this tag. So as our address is of 6-bit, out of these 6-bit, in this example, 2 bits are used for block offset, and for this cache line number, I'll use only 2 bits again, because as I have only 4 lines, as I have only 4 lines, as I have only 4 lines, I'll use 2 bits for the cache line number and the remaining 2 bits. So these two have comprised of 4 bits, right? This cache line number is taking 2 bits and block offset is taking 2 bits, and obviously the tag will take the remaining 2 bits. Remaining 2 bits. So this is represented in the form of a formula in the presentation that you have looked previously. So here you can see that in the same way that entire cache memory address is divided into 3 blocks or 3 slots, where the first slot is the block offset, that means the word number or word address, and the second block or the second slot is for the line number, cache line number, and the third one is tag number, which you get by S minus R. S is nothing but the you can simply it from main memory, right. Sorry, it is given correct only. S is nothing but is there in the main memory. So when in the main memory you will have two slots, right? So this is the main memory slot and this is the block offset. Main memory block number slot. So this is represented with S and the block offset represented with. So this S minus R will give me, R is nothing but the cache number, S is nothing but the block number. So S minus R will give me the tag number. Simply. So I hope it is clear for you all. Right. So quickly move on. I will move on to our example now. So if I distribute all the 6-bit address onto this cache memory, I'll get it as 00, 01 and 01 here. So anyhow, your block. So let us try to find out this in the cache memory. Okay, one of the cache lines. So before that, the tag area what I have specified here will have the active blocks. Will have the active blocks number. That means what? Like it will have around different values like 00 or 01, sorry, 01 or here 11 or here something like 01 again. So it will have different tag bit values which represent different blocks, I can say. Okay, so what it will show is, so we'll have again values here, like we'll have 00, 01, 10 and 11. Right, simply. So in the previous example, in the example what we have considered here, the tag bit value or the tag number is around 00. So if you check here in the example I have took, there is a 00. That means what? The cache, while performing direct mapping, the cache memory or the processor will check these tag bits. So if the tag bit is present, then obviously you might get the word, here, right? So it will check for the tag bits. If this tag bit is there, then obviously that there is a possibility of getting the required word from it. So that means almost it means the cache hit. So yeah. Next, if you find out cache line number is what? 01. This plays the important role in the cache mapping technique. So based on the cache line only, you need to check for the cache bit. So while I'm saying there is a possibility I have said, but it is not confirmed whether this is the required line or not. but the required line what I have is 1. The cache line number what I required is 0 1. That means in the decimal form it represents the normal 1, decimal 1. So that line I want. So if I go and check with that line, the tag bit value of that cache line is not 00, it is 01. That means what? It is not the required cache line, or it is not the required address for the processor. So it is simply represent what? It is the cache miss in this case. So once again I am repeating here, the cache line number is 01 and the tag bit value is 00. So here if you see here, the cache line number here is 1. For this one, the tag bit value is not 00, it is 01. So this is the cache miss. So if I change this, like, let me just change this. So if the tag bit value, consider the tag bit value is 00, then obviously the cache line is 01. That means decimal wise it is 1, which is required 1, and the tag bit value is also 00. That means what? Both of them have matched. That means it simply represents the cache hit. So based on that, again block offset. So that means what? In this again, it might this 00 and cache line number is 1. That here this 00 and 1, this is your block number. Your tag number which is active here is 00. That means this one, and the cache line number is 1. That means your block number which you have to, which is active here is block number 1. Block number 1, and the word block offset is 01. That represents what? Again, this data. That means it will simply, this entire block number 1 will get loaded onto this cache line, and from that cache line on which block offset, based on the block offset, it will give the data. It will provide the data for the processor. I hope I made some points clear, right? So we'll work on one another problem here. So which is given, like, consider a problem where main memory size is 64K. That means 64 kilobytes you can consider, and cache memory size is 2K. Find the number of bits for main memory. That means number of bits used for main memory address, cache memory address, and their address patterns, where the block can store only 16 words. That means what? Each block can store only 16 words. So if I want to get the number of bits which are used for main memory address, I need to simply get the total memory size of that main memory. That means what? Here 2 power, this 64 can be represented as 2 power 6. Sorry, 2 power 6, and this 1024 can be represented as 2 power 10, right? That will totally comprise of 2 power 16. That means what? We require around 16 bits for main memory address. Okay. In a similar way, if I talk about cache memory, for the cache memory it is given like around 2K. That is 2 into 1024. That means what? 2 power 1, and 2 power. We are least bothered about this number of bits here. That based on the main memory address only, we are mapping on to the cache memory. So we are mostly considered of this number of bits. So as the number of bits for main memory address is 16 bits, the same 16 bits will be used to represent the cache memory address. That means the line and all. So if I consider the address, so we'll have two address. One is for main memory and the other is for cache memory. Okay. And this is for main memory. This is for cache memory. So as this is for main memory, it will be divided into two slots, and this will be divided into around 3 slots, right? So 3 slots here. So as the number of, so the first part will represent what this will represent: block offset. Block offset is simply based on the number of words. Number of words is given as 16 words. It is given as 16 words. To represent 16 words, to represent 16 words, I can represent it as 16 can be represented it as 2 power 4. So I require around 4 bits, 4 bits of main memory address for block offset. So here 4 bits, here 4 bits, and the remaining 12 bits will be used for to represent the block number, when it comes to cache memory also the block offset will remain same. For this also the block offset remains same, that is 4. But when it comes to the cache line number, as we have around cache size is 2 power 1 into 2 power 10, that means what it is around 2 power 11, 2 power 11, right? So it will take, just a second. So yeah, so this will be 2 power 11, but we'll not use this entire 2 power 11, right? So each block, this cache memory, what happens in the cache memory, will divide that total entire memory into several lines, right? So how we'll divide that entire memory into several lines? That means these 2 power 11, this size, entire size of 2 power 11, is divided by 2 power 6. Sorry, 2 power 4, because as we have only 16 words, right? That means it will be divided by 2 power 4, which will give me 2 power 7. That means what I require to, these are the number of lines, these are the number of cache lines, right? So that means what we need to have around 7 bits to represent the cache lines. So here we have 7 bits to represent cache lines. And so here we have 12 bits block number, right? 12 bits for the block number to represent the block number. And here we have cache lines, or the cache number. The bits required for the cache to represent the cache line is 7. So to get the tag number, what we'll do, tag equals to s minus r. Tag equals to s minus r, where it is represented as w. It is represented as w, and it is represented as s. It is represented as s. So it is represented as r. It is represented as r. So in order to get the tag value, we have to do s minus R. That means the total number of the total bits used to represent block number minus total number of bits used to represent the cache line number. So we get tag number of bits used for tag as 12 minus 7. That means 5 bits. Means 5 bits. So here 5 bits will be used to represent the tag number. So this will represent your tag number, and this will represent your block offset or nothing but the word. Nothing but the word. Word number, I can say. Okay, this is how you need to solve the problems if it is given for the in the cache memory, that is direct mapping technique. Okay, mainly they'll focus on main memory and cache memory. That means to find out the patterns, address patterns for them. So this is how you can find the address patterns for both of them, right? Okay, so let us summarize this. So here I hope you have understood this, how we are finding this block or the required word in the main memory and as well as in the cache memory. So this is a simple process. The only process that you need to do is based on the address that we have, you need to check for the cache line number and the tag bits. If the tag bits matches with the tag bit which is there at the cache line number, so in the example it is given that cache line number is 1 and the tag bit is 0 0. If both of these match, the cache line number and the tag bit tag values in the given address, if both of them match, then we can say that the word is present in the cache line. So you can directly fetch that word to the processor. So this is how cache hit occurs. So if there is not, if you could not find this tag, if the tag is different, then you could not find the block or the required word in the cache memory. Then it represents cache miss. So at that time you need to get access to your main memory, and there you have to find your word, right? So let us get back to our presentation. Here you have, so we completed this is how you have to check to for every block of the main memory. You have a respective or specified cache line where you need to check with the tag there, right? So fine, we'll learn about the cache organization, how this entire cache memory or the direct mapping in the cache memory gets organized, or it will work with this representation, with this diagram. So I guess most of the terms that you are seeing here are very familiar to you. The one that is tag, line, word, this is the representation of the memory address in the cache memory. For the direct mapping technique, this is the representation of memory address for the cache memory. And this is the main memory. This is main memory. And here we are checking. This is a cache memory, right? So these are the lines. These are the lines. This whole set will represent one line. This whole set will represent other line, and this whole set will represent one more line. Okay, right. Here, if you consider here, when we are accessing any block, when we want to access any block, that address will consist of both S value and W value, right? So whatever the main memory block that you have, whatever the main memory main memory word that you have, it will be represented in a format where it has two slots. One is W and the other is S. One is W and the other is S. So these are those values. One is S and one is W. Both of them will comprise to the address of the main memory. So what we are doing here, we are taking that S and W, both combinedly we are taking, and we are splitting that entire S plus W values into three kinds. What are those three kinds? That means three slots which are compatible with the cache memory address for direct mapping, right? One represents the tag value, the other represents the line value, and the other represents the word. That word is simply how whatever the word value which is there here, that is simply copied onto here, and this s value will get splitted such that one tag is represented by s minus r and the line number is r, so such that it will get splitted. And there these address are used for checking purpose. So whatever the s minus r value is there, whatever the s minus r value is there, it is compared, this s minus r value is compared with the s minus r value. That means the tag value of each and the tag value of these cache lines. So it will compare, right? Here we have different tags, so all these different tags will get compared here. Okay, so if the comparison is successful, that means if the whatever the tag value that is specified here, if it gets matched with the tag value that are there here, if it gets matched with the tag value that are there here, that means what? That any one of these cache lines might have the tag value. If I suppose that there is a tag value like 00 here, tag value like 00 here, if the same tag value is present at any one of these cache lines, so it might if suppose there is a cache tag value here is like 00, that means what? This is simply the correct tag we have. This is the required tag what we want to access. So this 00 tag is present, so after comparison it will find this tag. Immediately after finding this tag, it is specified as the hit in cache memory. That means what? This is a cache hit. That means the data is available in the cache memory itself. So based on the word value, based on the word number, we'll find the word which we want. We'll find the word which we want to access. So after accessing that word, it will be given to the processor again. It will be given to the processor. So suppose that the tag value here, so suppose that the tag value here is not, suppose that the tag value here is not this 00, but instead let us suppose the tag value as 01. Then what happens? Our required tag value is 00, but the available tag value in any of the cases, like here it might be like 010, or here it might be 11. There is no tag, there is no required tag, right? So all these tags are different from what we want. So this will represent what? As we have not found the required tag in our data or in our cache memory. So but while comparing these tag values, you will not compare with each and every one. How the comparison happens? The comparison will happen based on the line number here. So whatever the line number is there, if this line number is equals to, if this line number is equals to r, that means whatever the required line number we want, only that tag value will be compared. Only that tag value will be compared. This is like simple process. So this is a direct process where you can easily check for the data in the cache memory. So while comparing, only the tag value which is there here will compared with the only tag value of this line, because this is the line which is having the line number r, that is our required line number. Whatever the required line number is there, for that required line number only we will compare the tag value. After comparing the tag value, if the tag value of here whatever we require and the tag value that is present here, if both of them are same, then it is cache hit. Whereas here in this case, whatever the example I'm explaining now, in this case here the tag value is 00, and the tag value for this line equals to r is 10. That means it is not same, the tag values are not same. That means the block residing in here is different from the block what we want. The block residing here is different from the block what we want. That means this is cache miss. When this is a cache miss, then obviously what will happen? This will directly go to the main memory, and in the main memory, using s and w values, it will get access to the required block. It will get access to the required block, and that block will be given to the processor. That block will be given to the process, or the other data or the word that is required is given to the processor, right? So based on the S and W values, the required word is given to the processor. Okay, suppose let us we have this tag as 00 here in this line. So the required line number is R. That means here this is the R. So the required line number is R here, and the required tag is 00. Then it is found here. In the first case itself, it is found. Right. This is cache miss, and based on the tag and the word value, if the word is around 11, if the word bit represents around 11, so if this is the 11 word, then this word will be given to the processor. Okay, I hope I made some points to you, right? So with the discussion about advantages and disadvantages of direct mapping, we'll close this session. Okay, right. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of this direct mapping? The one of the most and best advantage of this direct mapping is the processor will directly go to the line which it wants. Based on the tag number, if the tag number is correct, then it will automatically get the data. If the tag number is wrong, that represents cache miss, right? So there is a direct comparison. There is a direct comparison or direct accessing. So the processor will not take much time for this process. So this direct mapping will not take much time. Sometimes what happen? So this is the main advantage with this direct mapping. Okay. So here what is happening, if you observe in this diagram, whatever the line number which is specified here, based on that line number only, it is directly comparing the tag value. It is not at all bothered about all the remaining lines. It is not at all bothered about all the remaining lines. That means what? It is only searching for the data within just this part. It is not considered of the entire cache memory, whatever is there. So in this method, the processor is considered about only the line which it wants. So if it is there, if the data is there, that means if the tag is correct, the tag is compared, it is correct, and then it will access the data. If the tag is wrong, then it will directly go to the main memory, and from there it will access the data. That means what? It is simply comparing only a one cache line. There is no time waste. This accessing will be very easier, and it will take very less time in this type of technique, in this direct mapping technique. But when you talk about the disadvantage, what is the disadvantage for this direct mapping technique is it has lot of wastage. It has lot of wastage in the cache lines. So few cache lines will be kept empty when there is no frequent use of these. So let me just explain you this disadvantage. This disadvantage here. So as you are seeing here, this third cache line which is there, the third cache line which is there, it contains only the blocks which are block 3, block 7, block 11, and block 15. Only these 4 blocks can be accommodated by this cache line. So suppose there is a situation where we are not using the data of these blocks, block 3, block 7, block 11, and block 15. If we suppose we are not using these blocks, then no data will get resided into this cache line, which is 3. Into this cache line, there will be no data that will get fitted or that will get filled here, because we are not using these, as we are not using these blocks, block 3, block 7, block 11, and block 15 data, as we are not using them, there will be no data or the no block numbers into this cache line. That means what? uh, this simply this simply is wasted. This entire cache line will be wasted. Okay, so this is the main disadvantage of this this direct mapping technique. That means what? It sometimes it will waste the cache memory. So to overcome these kind of these kind of problems, we have our next we have next mapping technique, that is fully associative mapping technique or simply associative mapping technique. So let's close this session. This is the summary of the entire direct mapping. The address bit, this is the main memory address bit, and if you this is the tag bit. This is how the entire thing goes on, and I hope I have covered the entire things about direct mapping and cache memory. Okay, so it is better to close the session right now. Okay, so this is the end of our session. So we have come across the different method of cache mapping, the working of the cache memory, how it works, and the techniques which are used for mapping of cache memory from the main memory. As a part of it, we have discussed about direct mapping today. So this is the end of the session, and thank you for being patient for this long time. So thank you all.